Authentically peculiar. Authentically peculiar. Authentically peculiar.
Authentically Peculiar with Marcia. Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back to Authentically Peculiar with Marcia. Thank you all for joining me in another fantabulous, that's my word, episode on Authentically Peculiar with Marcia. Today, I have probably one of my better friends for the 53 years of my life. This is my oldest brother, number 2 in the One's Baby collection. 53 years, and he has been a guiding force for me. One of the things I wanted to bring him on to talk to us about is his long history in helping, especially the African American community, with really understanding our health and our mindsets so that we can have longevity, because in our family, our people live to 99, 100 years old until they get tired. We had to change some things. So both of us are a little nervous because, we both are our mama's babies, right? We are one's kids. And I often laugh because whenever they tag my brother Kenneth in to speak at family gatherings, I'm usually the one to swoop in and try to, get in your tissue to guide the conversation, because, he is filled with wisdom and knowledge. And I'm just going to share a quick backstory. Years ago in my 20s, I had to have a tonsillectomy. And I think that may have been at the onset of your healing process through food and relationship and things of that nature. And I drove to Memphis still in a lot of pain after 2 weeks. And my brother said, drink this. He had juiced me some carrots. And I don't know what else was in the carrot juice. All I know is all the medicine that they had me on for weeks didn't work. I drank that carrot juice and I literally started back functioning. So he's going to drop some tidbits. Let me tell y'all now, for those that think that they're going to be looking for this, stuffed shirt type atmosphere, that's not us. Y'all should know by now, that's not who I am. We're going to keep it real. We want to just have the goal of helping one person to see what their relationship with food is like and living through a different lens on that relationship. So welcome aboard, brother. How are you today?
I'm doing not too bad for old dude. So taking it one step at a time. And it's a blessing and an honor to have an opportunity, because we don't get a chance to talk to each other too long. So your schedule is busy. Mine is busy. And then we have a public conversation when we don't get a chance to talk too often, which is wonderful, because I'm hoping that between you and I, we can bring something significant to the table to help our folks. And that's anybody that's trying to be healthier and have a better quality of life.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because, one of the things, I'm mental health, and my brother actually has a degree in psychology, a master's, and then he is like this nutritionist guru. Hopefully I won't embarrass him too much, but I remember back in the 90s when your body was on display at a mall in Nashville for that 1% body fat. Do you remember that? Because I remember that.
Oh, Lord. There's no telling where my body's been displayed at. But anyway, I'm really happy that I learned early on the importance of food, and even growing up in our community and our neighborhood, food was really, really important, and you could just see the whole ingredients. There was a time when we kind of transitioned away from those whole ingredients, going towards more things that were processed. But ultimately, it's what we grew up eating: food, fruits, vegetables, things that we cooked ourselves, not pulling up to a drive-through to get it, most likely. That was a privilege and a luxury, and now people have that privilege and luxury several times a day if they like it.
Mm-hmm. And utilize it. I remember when Mom passed in 2016, someone from our childhood neighborhood said, I remember Miss Juanita. It was the one house in the community that we can go and get fresh fruit anytime. Mom would always keep bowls of fresh fruit on the table. So we learned very early to appreciate the freshness of food, having home cooked meals and things of that nature. And contrary to popular belief, she did do some soul food, but we really ate pretty healthy for the most part.
And soul food for a long time was the healthiest food we get. It came straight from the garden. Mm-hmm. We had to go out there to work to get the food from the garden, not only work to produce a decent enough garden to come back and feed us. And we ate again food, those things that we could pronounce. Mm-hmm. Beans, corn, peas, potatoes, carrots, turnips, those kind of whole ingredients. And it's just getting back to those natural whole ingredients that keep you really close to, I guess, that healthy living strong.
Yeah, that longevity and self-appreciation, understanding the connection of food and wellness. One of the biggest things for me is making sure my body is rid of inflammation and that I can continue to move. Since I got all these grandkids, I got to be able to be active and things of that nature. When you think about just movement in the community, especially with stuff like high blood pressure, diabetes. I know you were an advocate for your sisters because we were all overweight, saying, listen, get this weight off. You got to keep moving. And we'd be cussing you out because we didn't want to hear it because we weren't mentally ready to change. What would you say to someone about that mental change and how important it is to do that?
Well, I'd say a couple things. And the first thing would be in the approach towards just recognizing that someone may be in need of a healthier change, and it's finding a way to really meet them where they are. That's first and foremost, because everybody's, if it was easy, everybody could do it. It ain't easy. It's hard as hell. It takes a village. And everybody starts where they start. Some people may start with, I just want to eat one orange a week and start there because I don't even eat no oranges in a month. So maybe one week, little small incremental steps so that we can have those small successes. And again, it's all in, everything is relative that I've learned. What do you say to somebody who has a hangnail if somebody else is missing a hand or an arm? It's all relative.
Yeah.
And so, it's in how you approach that person and present them the opportunity to change and grow and really get to know them so that you can meet them where they are. And then if you're embarking on that change, it's small incremental steps, finding ways to surround yourself with great information and supportive information, because misinformation will send you down the wrong road. You get discouraged. And it's like, I ain't doing this. It didn't work. Why am I doing this? And it's not working. And it's pretty simple. It's always been simple. I guess Mom used to say, kiss it. Keep it simple, stupid. And it is. It's fruits, vegetables, whole foods, whole grains, lending yourself to be more apt to eat foods that are not highly processed.
Yeah.
To eat those foods that you can pronounce. Grapes, raisins,
right.
sunflower seeds, not xanthan gum and a whole lot of other things. And again, this is not me. This is information that's been out for a long time. We just sometimes turn away from it because it's uncomfortable. Change is not promised to be comfortable. So why are you telling me I can't have this or I can't have that? And, having learned from more than 30 years of just trying to find the right path for this journey of healing and having food be the foundation to spiritual whole healing.
Yes.
Because again, we're from Memphis. And so a lot of our original everything has emanated from Memphis and those people in the community in Memphis, whether it be great barbecues, or I'm thinking about one of my first nutritional, spiritual wellness shaman that introduced me to just the philosophy of you consume life, you exude life. And Benoit, wheatgrass juice. You know, what it did for me, just learning about, you know, wheatgrass juice has been around since the beginning of human beings and beneficial, but until he introduced it to me in my early 20s, had I even fathomed the idea of like, maybe I should eat less animals. And then there's this awesome book by John Robbins called The Diet for New America. And that kind of shed a whole lot of light into just what was going into the production of meat on this planet, you know, and the detrimental benefits of mindless eating versus mindful eating. That's what I'd also offer to that question too, is become more mindful, become more present. Think about, you know, what is the benefit of what I'm consuming, whether it be positive energy from the community or positive energy from what we're actually eating to nurture our body. How much of my life energy is going to be used to process this goop or whatever this is I just put in, whether it be negative people or negative food, or what is this going to give me? How is this going to nurture me? How is this going to help me heal from the inside out so that not only I manifest that hope that our community aspires to, but that God or that great spirituality that is within each of us, that, you know, good food, good people around you, good energy manifests good energy. And then good energy is attractive. Healthy energy is magnetic. It pulls in, because people are like, why are they so damn healthy and happy smiling all the time? And don't complain about my ankles swole up or my knees hurt, or, you know, joyful about waking up in the morning and being able to take that first step, maybe not as fast as you did 5 years ago or 10 years ago, but taking that first step and being like, I am excited about getting out of the bed and meeting this day, Lord. Thank you for another blessing. Let me see if I can show myself worthy enough to make good decisions to be given another day.
And that's it. I mean, I don't know if I shared this with you, but I've been juicing beets and ginger and carrots, and it's like a power booster for me in the morning. And it's just like, whoa, where did this energy come from? Yeah, it came because you don't have any more junk going in your body.
Life, you exude life. And that was, you know, Balewa taught that early on. You know, a lot of times you can consume way more nutrients through fluids, and you don't have to consume as many empty calories. And that goes into this idea of volumetric eating. You know, why eat this much food and get this much nutrition, where you can eat this much nutrition and consume the least amount of calories so that you can fuel yourself with vitamins and nutrients, and maybe utilize or burn some of the unnecessary stored mass that we're carrying around. That's just what it's stressing us. So if we can learn about that mindful eating and balancing out the energy that we consume, energy that we expend, you tend to start moving yourself in that direction where you can have tangible results. Life changes, where habits get started, and you start to feel good about, oh, you know, I ate this, I wasn't supposed to, but I know I ate it. It's not just like, you know, mom say, a poot in the wind kind of. What happened? I don't know. Blew on down. And I have that conversation quite often with many clients as we start off. It's like, first thing we got to do, let's start, you know, journaling a little bit. I'm not going to be, you know, an ogre about it, but I need you to have an idea of what's going on in your life. You know, I'm listening.
And that's pretty powerful, because if you don't understand your why you're eating and consuming food out of stress, out of emotion, out of detachment, right? I had to recognize, for me, my relationship with food and the negativity of that relationship actually came from a childhood trauma that I had not processed thoroughly. And when I recognized that, when here, and you probably don't know this, but if someone gave me a compliment about being good looking or whatever, I would eat, because that was a way that I would distract people from actually seeing me. And when I opened up my eyes and recognized this unhealthy relationship with food as a protective measure to push away, it was like, oh no, that means that I'm still giving somebody else control over my peace.
Mm-hmm.
I'm giving somebody else control over my body. I'm giving someone else control over my mind. So how can I be connected spiritually and connected with me if I'm giving away my energy to a source that probably doesn't even recognize they are still a part of my process? Excuse me. One of the things that you said was so valuable to me, because years ago, you would always say, you got to remember that you're a temple. When you think about your body as a temple and the positive or negative energy that you choose,
Mm-hmm.
what would be a good message for people that may be wrestling with really understanding what that means about them overall being a temple?
Ooh, Lord have mercy. It's like preach, child. But anyway, the temple, that vessel that, you know, we come from really, really spiritual folk, rooted in the word, and the word being, and I'm going to keep it simple because, you know, your brother is not one to thump a Bible or thump any type of scriptures whatsoever, as far as trying to just be the most spiritually whole and kind human being possible.
Yes.
And just looking at the community, the Christian community that I grew up in, I'll be even more specific now. And because I grew up in a Christian community, Southern African-American Baptist Christian community, then one of the things
frying in the back of the corner doing service.
What you said, you could always smell, you know, these great smells emanating from the kitchen through the church, and all the time you're learning those things about the word and nourishing and nurturing your body. So for me, because a lot of unhealthy things are also passed along right along with that. And with that, you say, you know, we've got a wedding, eat all you can eat. We put this on your plate. You've got to finish it. We got a funeral, eat all you eat. You know, so no matter what the celebration or what the occasion, for long times, even now, you know, we get together and we'll get together, eat, have a drink, but rarely will we get together and go for a hike, you know, go for a kayak trip or a boat ride. And it's kind of changed because I know for me and all of my nephews and even the community that I work in, I try to exist out of the box. I think it's that old Boy Scout, Eagle Scout.
It's that peculiar thing.
It's that peculiar thing. And I think Juanita passed that on, that appreciation for nature and being able to find God in nature. So I went a roundabout way to think back to that temple and being a vessel. And it's about being as Christ-like as possible.
Yes.
And then, you know, once you know, you can't act like you don't know. If you know you're supposed to eat a little bit healthier, then you're held to that responsibility of eating healthier. Now that you can't say, I didn't know I wasn't supposed to eat 10 pieces of fried chicken and then finish it up with half of a cake, you know, but most of the things we hear every day on so many different forms of social media, podcasts, every side of buses. So we kind of pretty much have a good idea. Most of the times I'm going to do what I want to do. I'm grown. Can't nobody tell me what to do. It's okay. It's fine. We all get there. But
until they get sick. Mentally and physically.
Or I can't feel this ankle no more. It don't feel right. Or what's going on because, you know, something is not right. And again, we're not living our best selves and going back to just being as Christ-like as possible. You consume life. You exude life. And I make this joke quite often, like, what would you tell Jesus if he said, I got some fish and some bread here and let's go pass it out? And you're like, well, Lord, my sugar is up there. Can you holler at me tomorrow, Lord? Because, you know,
my
I ain't
sugar's
feeling
acting
well
up.
today. Like, that's not, they don't go together for me.
Right.
And for me, it's like my temple, and I need to be a reflection of being able to go out and manifest as much kindness and good information. I think part of that Christian foundation is all that's not given is lost.
Yeah.
So no matter what it is, whether it be great information or good energy, you have to try to share as much as possible, that especially if it's helped you out a lot. So I don't know.
And you have to
That's
be
not
willing
way.
to confront change. You know, you have to be willing to confront change. One of the things you mentioned was how plates would get fixed. Eat all the food on your plate. Such a horrible habit, such a horrible habit. And I tell young people now who are young parents, you're going to eat this and eat it all on your plate. Well, why not decrease the size and the amounts of food on these children's plate, then let them come back and ask for more if need be. This whole thing, I see a lot of people sitting around and they just shovel food. They're not even tasting the food. How did it taste? Oh, it was all right. Well, did you even taste it? Did you taste the seasoning in it? No, because we're so busy shoveling that we don't understand that
mindless eating.
Mindless eating, absolutely.
Yeah. Mindless eating and just mindless living versus being more mindful.
Yeah.
Being more thoughtful, being more considerate about that bite. And this is something else that changed. And I'm not sure if it was Mama Leela or who it was, but I used to have this really bad habit when I was younger. If I miss a snack or something, like, man, I'm famished, I'm starving. You know, it's crazy. I'm famished. I used to just throw it out. I'm starving to death over here. I'm like, stop. Hold on, son. Let me show you what famine looks like. Let me show you what starvation looks like personally. And you look, and when you see what famine looks like, and you see bloated bellies from starvation, and you see people making cakes from mud and having all the detrimental degenerative side effects from what famine and starvation does, then you have to check yourself.
Right.
I ain't famished. I might be a little hungry, but I live in America. At the end of the day, we got better trash than most people are able to put on their table.
Listen.
And again, you ain't that, and you know how your brother rolls. It's like, we ain't gonna starve. We're not gonna starve. Most of us have enough energy stored on us that if we were to drink water for a week or 2 weeks, we'd still be all right.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly.
Just tap into one of the places where it's stored at and be like, okay. And it's really being more mindful, because, you know, oh, I'm gonna get lightheaded, I'm gonna pass out. And I'm always encouraged by what our people had to endure. I go back and look at pictures from 50, 60, 70 years ago. There were no obese people, especially obese people of color. You couldn't be.
Exactly.
It wasn't conducive. And so over time, we've thought, oh, I'm going to do these things that aren't the healthiest things for us, but it made us feel good because it was a status kind of thing. And now the paradigm has shifted. And I'm so encouraged that I see more businesses of color trying to cater to juicing, impossible meats, walking more, and understanding that, you know, I've been doing this for my whole life. Yeah. And trying to introduce our community. So we're not anomalies. That was one of the things that from 30 years ago, beginning in this industry, and recognizing that, yeah, Black folks walk.
Exactly. And we work out. We ride bikes, we work out, we communicate, we swim. We swim, we do it all. We do it all. And this mindset of what we can't do. There are no restrictions. I often use that statement from the movie The Matrix, there is no spoon, meaning there is no limitation from what it is that you want to achieve and how you want to achieve it. You get to choose. You get to choose to be healthy. You get to choose to be mentally happy. You get to choose what you put in your body, and you get to choose what you don't want to do. Because it is a choice. You get to choose to break the cycle of things like diabetes, high blood pressure, all of those genetic things that's going on by literally changing your relationship with food and movement.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that I really appreciate about you is not only do you, of course, you have your teams there at the Y where you're working out, but you take them on hiking trips. You take them, you participate in how many marathons at this point of your
Probably
life?
a couple dozen at this stage.
Mm-hmm.
A couple
Exactly.
dozen and even more half marathons and a few triathlons. But I do liken that to just being introduced to the outdoors at a very young age. And for me, that was very healing. And that's where I personally heard God's voice in the trees and looking at how nature just impacted everything. And then how small I was in the universality of just being and existing. It's like, oh, I ain't the biggest thing. It's
Right.
something much, much greater than me. And then it all comes to roost as you get older and you just learn.
We were laughing before we started the cameras that we're the old people now. We're that older generation pushing towards 60 and thinking back to how we want longevity. And our family, like I said in the introduction, folks lived until they were 99, 100. They literally commanded death. Thinking back to Big Mama and having a conversation with her at 99, and she's saying, well, when they go to the family reunion, I'm not going to be here, but I can't go while they still here because they're not going to let me go. Mm-hmm. And I was thinking, what do you mean, old lady? Well, she commanded death. Like Grandpa Blaine, he commanded death. He's like, well, I'm going home tonight, right? And then they found him dead the next morning. You get to do that when your mind is in a place of mental and spiritual and physical wellness, where you are saying, I get to control what's happening with me, but it's a changeover. You have to choose intentional mindfulness.
Intentionality is huge.
Yes.
It's got to be a conscious decision. It's not happenstance. And sometimes some people are blessed and fortunate that they can stumble on it, but most of us, me first at the front of the line, have to put some work in.
Yes.
I have to think about what I'm putting in my body, because if I eat the wrong thing, it doesn't matter what size my frame is, it's going to either make my body knock a peen or run like a very efficient machine. And I've gotten to where I can be mindful enough that I can be in tune, like, I probably wasn't supposed to do that. But again, I don't guilt myself, because life is too short and everything fits within moderation. All moderation. Moderation is the key. It's not the end of the world. You shouldn't stress yourself if you don't make the best decision about what you choose to eat, but ask yourself, can you do a little bit better? Ask yourself, am I being mindful, or am I just going to dive into whatever I can pull up here because I don't want to waste any time to think? We will not starve. Most of us are nowhere close to starving or going into any type of anything. Now, I will say, to be safe, if you deal with any type of metabolic issue like diabetes, then you should make sure that you're adhering to whatever your physician or a nutritionist says. Because again, I'm not a dietitian or a nutritionist, may play one on TV. But what I have learned is that the more we can lend ourselves to eat a plant-based diet, more whole foods, less processed foods, spend more time preparing our foods, it generally takes us in a healthier direction, more so than not. If we find ourselves having more of a relationship with moving versus being sedentary, it generally tends to lend you in a healthier direction than not. So without, I was thinking about this conversation we're going to have, and I'm like, oh gosh, how do you have a bio when you've been on this planet for more than half a century? And it's been so many things, from jumping out of airplanes to whitewater rafting to bungee jumping, to really how do you share some basic information. And
Right.
that's kind of what I wanted to be able to do, is be able to sit at a table, and whether it be, our crew from the Manor or from Looney Street or Claiborne Homes or JC Napier or Preston Taylor, folks can pull up a seat at the table and understand exactly what we're talking about just being more thoughtful about how you treat yourself. This is one of those times where you can be selfish when you need to nurture yourself, and you don't have to feel guilty about loving you with positive energy that you want to have around you, and positive energy that you want to consume, because you consume life, you exude life. That's living foods. And somebody like, what do you mean I need to go hit a rabbit in the head while it's still kicking? No, that's not, plant-based diet more than anything. Plant-based diet more than anything. And if you can't pronounce it, you probably should not be eating it.
Absolutely. You mentioned something that reminded me of the importance of being selfless. The difference, and a lot of people, will throw the word you're selfish out there if someone puts themselves first. No, that's being selfless, because when you're selfless and you put yourself first, that means everything about you that you're doing for you can extend to others so that they can be a beneficiary of the goodness that you're doing for you. When you're selfish, when you are focused on doing things that's not good for you, then you become disgruntled doing things for other people. You begin to feel manipulated and frustrated and things of that nature, which also adds on to the toxicity coming into your body. But when you're selfless, you can literally show yourself the same empathy and compassion that you show others, and then everyone around you benefits. So it's okay to be selfless. It really is. And giving yourself that permission, you sleep better. You sleep better, you live better, you consume and exude better, right?
Yes.
You function at a higher level because you simply took the time to be intentional, to be motivated for you, and to choose what it needs to look like for you. Yeah, brother. And I think we're a little frozen, but that's all right. It'll come back in. Any last words?
Green is trying to freeze.
It's okay.
Okay.
Well, that kind of just happens. We can't control. We want to control technology, but the new space camera out there showing us a whole nother side of life.
Isn't it wonderful?
Man, I'm loving it.
Oh my goodness.
People don't understand. I have a lot of people that say, man, you always talking about the full moon and this and that. Listen, I know that I am energy. We are all energy. Our energy comes from things that we consume and exude. It comes from the mindset of positivity or negativity. It comes from our existence. You have to learn where to plug in. So I'm gonna say this, and then I'm gonna turn it over to my brother for his last words. Choose how you want to pour energy into your body, whether positive or negative. You choose that. You get to decide what that needs to look like for you. Period. Point blank. It's real simple. You get to make that choice. You get to choose what that looks like for you. You get to decide how that's going to be. Ken, you still with me?
I am still. Oh, my screen has frozen. What's going on?
Okay. I can hear you fine. I can see you looking like your mama, but it's frozen.
Oh Lord. Well, I think my iPhone the power is starting to go down a little bit.
Okay.
But I'm not sure. Am I still on?
You're still on. Give us some last motivating words to just give people the energy to start choosing themselves, making intentional decisions about the energy that they consume. And if you have any words of how people can join some of your outings in the Nashville area.
Well, first, I guess I'll start off with, don't beat yourself up. You start off where you start. We all start where we start. You are where you are. There's no pressure. And to be more mindful about your daily practices. One of the things is making sure that if you're able, little bitty things, can you get 8 hours of sleep in a night? Because rest makes a world of a difference.
Yeah.
Are you able to maybe make sure that you stay hydrated, especially with these high temperatures? Because if you're dehydrated, you're going to be stressed and your body's not going to be functioning properly. It's going to add a whole lot of other host of problems and issues to what's going on. And then surround yourself with positive support. Quite often, you know, we're around family and friends and we love them, but they may sabotage a lot of the things that we're trying to do. You know, why you want to eat like that? It ain't killed you to this point. It ain't gonna kill you. But you know, they don't understand what you're trying to do. And quite often you have to follow your own path and be, again, selfless about how you're willing to make yourself happy.
Yeah.
You're responsible for your own happiness. You can't hold nobody else accountable. If you ain't happy, it's like, okay, well, I need to go back and revisit what is it going that I'm going to be able to do to make myself happy.
Exactly.
And part of that is surrounding yourself with positive, supportive energy, and just trying to live mindfully as possible. I have been with the YMCA of Middle Tennessee for probably 20 plus years now, and the same time part of Metro Parks and Recreation here in Nashville, Davidson County, for about the same amount of time. So I've literally walked thousands of miles, rode even more miles on the bicycle with hundreds, if not thousands of clients over the last 20 years in this city. So and I've learned more than anything, it's just, you know, you start where you start. Don't get discouraged. Keep trying to find some people that are trying to do those things that you're doing and that have been successful at it. Exactly. And then surround yourself with that. That's kind of it in a nutshell, a little bit. I hope it helped.
And it did. I mean, the conversation was so natural and organic. And the real bottom line message is be gentle with yourself. Decide when you need to make these small steps towards change. Don't beat yourself up. Choose the changes, but more importantly, trust you. Connect with people that are actually in a same space of positivity, moving in the same direction. Ignore the folks that tell you don't try to make change, because you know your body better than anybody else. You know your mind better than anybody else. Give yourself that permission. As always, thank you for joining us on this episode of Authentically Peculiar with Marcia. You can find it on any streaming app near you, and we look forward to seeing your journey as you live authentically every day. Take good care.